Psych! What's up, Raptors? It's me, Aiden Moss, all by my lonesome. Everybody's busy on the Saturday, but I don't care because we just saw the Toronto Raptors pull one out against the Dallas Mavericks 105-100 in Toronto. Um, it didn't look good early on. I have to say that first 8 minutes, it felt like, I don't know if you ever walk into a gym and your hands are cold and your body's cold or whatever. It looked like that. The boys came out and they were flat. It looked like they hadn't shot a basketball before. They had zero oomph in their offense and their defense. It just looked kind of like they weren't in this one early and it was going to be a quick exit. And then things turned around. And we saw, so yeah, first quarter we had an air ball. We had 4 turnovers. Thaddeus was dropping the ball. Everybody was kind of struggling. Dallas had four or five, I think 4 corner threes in that first quarter. And we'll talk about the defensive scheme against Luka Doncic. I guess one could argue that it worked. I'm not so sure, but regardless, we'll talk about that. And then we got saved by the one and only Freddie V. He pulled it out early for us, hitting some big jumpers. Controlling traffic, controlling the offense a little bit, bringing it back together. Chris Boucher comes in. They tried to keep him out as long as they could as the sixth man, and we didn't have the, you're lacking energy. You go straight to Chris Boucher, and he was phenomenal tonight. Let's take a look. He 10 for 19, 22 points, 13 boards. He just played a really good game, and it all just kind of came together. The guys, they figured it out. They just kind of relaxed a little bit. They saw the hoops drop. They saw the buckets drop a couple times. They got some stops on the defensive end. It helps when Dallas starts missing those threes. And I think one thing that they did stop doing on the defensive end is they stopped doubling Luka just randomly, right? It's funny because I tweeted this just prior to it happening, or at least thought about it. I don't know, whatever. I'm no LeBron James, but in my head, I'm like, can we just let OG guard Luka straight up and live with whatever happens? And they made that adjustment, kind of. They did do that, and they stopped just doubling Luka in the middle of the court, which is just leading to a complete disaster zone elsewhere on the offensive end. The only other times they were doubling, which they did a lot of, was on the pick and roll, and that still kind of got us into trouble. You can see how Luka finds these angles no matter what. There was a late one in that fourth quarter where he kind of leans forward and has the easy bounce pass into the middle. He does the behind the back, I don't know what I would have done necessarily, but I think the doubling just definitely wasn't working for the most part. And even in the pick and roll, I guess they're just like, let's make other people score. But over and over again, we had wide open shots at different parts of the court, and it's just very frustrating to see. Not to mention just wearing our guys thin, right? There was one position where Boucher sprints to the baseline, jumps into the stands. They swing the ball. Boucher runs back, jumps into the stands in the other corner. It's a difficult. It's difficult to do for the majority of the game, but they did the best that they could. What else? What else stood out to us? OG had a solid night. I swear to God, the referees are just so hard on OG. It's just relentless. I know he travels. But I've never seen so many travels called on one dude. He offensive foul after offensive foul, and they're not all offensive fouls. He does create a lot of contact, and he is learning how to do that without being reckless, and he has more balance, so it's not so violent. But then they're still calling it on him, and it's just very frustrating. But props to OG, man, because he didn't let that get him down, he missed a couple of bunnies, he missed a couple of step backs, he got called on a couple of travels and offensive fouls, and he still went at it. He still kept going. And I think, shout out Max Pasemko, he texted me and said, like he noted how like aggressive and confident OG is, and it's true. If there's a silver lining in this spell of injuries, it's been that OG has become, I don't want to say mature, but just like a more mature player. Like his baseline confidence is that I can score whenever I want to. I just gotta not do these like make these little mistakes. Like he knows he can get where he wants to go, and he's doing that relentlessly. And I love that. I love to watch it. Like I said, the good and the bad. I love to watch it all. You're seeing the growth before your very eyes. And then at the other end, he finally hit a three, thank God, because he's been real cold. I think he's at like 28% over the last 10 games or so. And then he's playing defense against the MVP of the league, arguably, and he did a pretty good job. I think when Luka wasn't in a pick and roll action and it was just straight up on OG, he did score at the end there, even though OG played great defense. I think he probably had about 12 points on OG one-on-one. But two of those came from, hand in the face, step back threes. This is like, it doesn't matter what defender you are. Those are literally unguardable. So I like another great game from OG, not the best. He had 5 turnovers, most of those fouls and travels. He played 43 minutes, shot 47%, 2 for 4 from 3. Finally, a solid 3-point shooting night, 26 points. So he played great, absolutely great. I feel like, thanks, Keon. I feel like I'm OG tonight. I'm doing it all. I'm gonna have to do the producing. I have to do the editing. Jesus, I'm gonna have to do it all. But so we're gonna get you all involved early. So if you have questions or you have thoughts you want me to bring up, do so, because I don't like doing a monologue for 25 minutes. Let's go with some negatives first. Malachi Flynn, he got a short leash. Poor guy. That second, was it the second quarter when they had, I think it was Flynn, Doughton, oh God, I don't know who else, Birch maybe, and it was just like the offense was just, bleeding out. It was very tough to watch. Doughton had a nice take on a Flynn baseline kick to him, but Flynn didn't last very long. He just kind of, who is Flynn, Jesse says, like he looked just kind of like this was the end days for him. Gary had a tough one, 27 minutes, but I don't think he played the fourth quarter. He 3 for 12, another really abysmal night from 3-point line, 1 for 5. He finally hit one. He also hit one post whistle, which is too bad. That's always how it goes when you're in these shooting spells, right? You hit the one that doesn't count. He did have 4 steals, and I thought his defense was much better. It's not really all about the steals, although of course that helps. But he was a lot more disciplined, to the best that he could anyway. Now I'm remembering that really bad bench lineup had Gary in it. It was the 3 guards with Gary, Flynn, and Doughton. It was not pretty. But yeah, I think Gary's defense was fine, but I think Nurse's patience is thinning out with Gary. The thing about Gary is that you're gonna live and die with the way he plays, right? Which is like jacking at his own pace, keeping the ball to himself when maybe there are better plays to do or more ball movement will be better. But so yeah, I think Nurse has publicly said that he's a little bit disappointed with Gary's defense. I thought it was better today, but if he's not going to be scoring offensively, and part of it is also who we're playing, right? I think Dallas is smaller, so you would think Gary would be better out there. But with Luka, who's just so big and strong, you kind of need a guy like Wancho to be your second guard, quote unquote, because when you're doing all of these switches, one, you need to be long and principled, have strong defensive principles, but also if you do get switched on to Luka, you're a bigger body. And we saw how Luka just eats up Freddie or would eat up Gary in these switches. So I think that was part of it too. Not to mention Juancho, going back to the positive, 4 for 6, 2 for 4 from 3, 5 boards, 10 points. Juancho and Thaddeus bring a different kind of basketball to this Raptors team. And I feel like I've seen enough games now where the Raptors fail when the ball sticks to their hands. Like, sure, Freddie has these great possessions where he hits like these high arcing threes or he finally gets to the rim. But the Raptors are best when the ball is moving. I mean, most teams are best when the ball is moving, except maybe Dallas, although they lost tonight. And the best play of the game was a driving kick. I'm getting off topic, but the best play of the game was a driving kick. Boucher swings the ball, another driving kick, and they find OG in the corner for 3. Like, that's the best kind of basketball you can play, in my opinion, and it pays dividends later on because it tires the defense, blah, blah, blah. All that to say is that I think having Thaddeus and Juancho on the floor encourages that kind of stuff. First of all, Juancho's not going to really create in isolation. Thaddeus can a little bit, but he missed a bunch of his flip shots today, which is too bad because I had a prop on Thad. But Thad out of that elbow is just awesome. And Juancho and Boucher were just feasting off of his passes, cutting baseline, cutting from the weak side. Juancho had two layups that he cut weak side. I think he might have missed another one. And those guys are just like, they know basketball they know that getting their buckets and having their own impact on the game means cutting without the ball, means passing, means like relying on others cutting and ball movement to get the ball back in a position to score. So I like this team really lacked that last year. We had a lot of static rotation players, and it's not like Thad's like this awesome creator, but he does give us like a little bit more dynamism in those lineups, and Juancho feeds off of that. You can see like guys like Doughton and Juancho really like rely on guys like Thad who are scanning the court and looking for dudes. So yeah, I think Thad was 1 for 6, which was atypical for him. He's been averaging, I think, about 10 points as a starter. So and at least 4 of those were buckets that should have gone in. Yeah, I do have a gambling problem, but I bet small amounts. So actually, I won a couple prop bets today. Maybe we can get to that if you want to know. But anyway, yeah, Thaddeus had an atypical scoring night, but it didn't really matter. His defense was great, and he had those turnovers in the first quarter hindered him. But other than that, I thought he had a good game. I had a thought I was going to talk about, but you know what I wanted to say was Freddie had 10 free throw attempts. He was 9 for 10 tonight. That is the kind of Freddie we want to see moving forward. Like, when I say I hate Freddie being in isolation, it's like I can't stand when he's doing those dribble combos at the top of the 3 and then just hoisting. But when he's in isolation and he's threading defenses and getting to the rim, or he had that great one where he kind of like 360 spun dribble and then found somebody. I can't remember. Oh, Birch on the roll. Like that kind of stuff I love. But getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line, that's like when you're kind of at a plateau offensively, and Freddie's plateau is really good. But if you want to get to that next level, free throws are where it's at, right? Like creating contact, creating fouls. And Freddie typically creates contact, but in a really poor way. Like he throws his body into guys and refs don't call it, and he misses the layup, misses the shot of the layup. So it was good to see that he was aggressive early and got those free throws. What do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Boucher is just, he had 13 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. I saw a stat tweeted out. Dallas in the first quarter gathered 23% of available rebounds defensive rebounds. Their defensive rebounding percentage was 23%. 23%. That means the Raptors either on those shots either scored or got the offensive rebound in that first quarter. Like Boucher at one point out rebounded the entire team, a Dallas team. I'm pretty sure in the first quarter. Like he is now like we are. This might be an overstatement, but we are witnessing like greatness in rebounding. Like I truly am just absolutely flabbergasted by how Boucher is constantly in the right place at the right time. And he has a knack, which I've never seen before, drawing fouls on rebounds. Like he drew a foul on a defensive rebound, but he always draws fouls on the offensive rebounds because he's just like slithering into places and getting between players and the ball and forcing them to either like let him get the offensive board or give him a push in the back. I think Boucher's got a great sounding dramatic I just got fouled like kind of grunt. I don't think Pascal's got to work on his, but Boucher's got a great one. So he does embellish, but it's actually insane how good he is at it. And, you know, I saw a lot of tweets about him, you know, potentially being the sixth man of the year and 100%, you know, I mean, if he's going to, Boucher is truly at his best when he's just cutting and grinding and rebounding and hoisting the odd shot. Like I really hate when he tries to do anything in isolation. And when he's not, this team thrives from his energy. Like it's endless. It's endless, and he's not affected by other. You know, you can see guys who like they lose their energy because the team's not doing well and whatever else. But Boucher is just like a constant. Like he's nonstop, just energy all the time, because he knows that's how he gets paid. And the sooner he figured out, the better off he was. And I really think guys like Precious can take notes from him and Thad and Wancho for that matter. It's like, just stick to the shit you know how to do well, and the other stuff will come in time, right? And OG is another good example. Like that dude just played defense all the time as hard as he can. Then he became a spot up shooter. Then he became like the odd post up guy, dunk. And now he's becoming like a full arsenal, like offensive player. And I think Precious can really take a lot of notes from that, and other young guys too, of just like how to balance development and execution at the same time. So props to Chris Boucher, man. You know what the hell I'll do? The Can-Am Taxman of the night. It's going to our boy Chris Boucher. That's 22 points, 13 boards, 5 offensive rebounds, 5 free throw attempts, which is also good to see. Only 1 foul. Congrats, Chris Boucher. We're giving you the Can-Am Tax Man of the Night. That's canamtax.com. Go check them out. They'll help you with your personal taxes, your business taxes. You've heard the shtick. A proud partner of the Raptors Republic. We appreciate it. Moving right along. What else do we want to talk about? I got notes. Let's see here. Wancho cuts, loved him. OG, just his aggression, also loved it. The final play, I don't know if we want to talk about that on the defensive end. Obviously, it was the one time double teaming the pick and roll actually worked. But the only reason why that worked was because Dallas needed a 3, right? So Kleba is like wide open, and you see that every single Raptor stays home. And so, like, you know, good instructions from Nurse, don't worry about the roller, just stick with your guys. And then Kleba's like kind of at a loss. And Alvin mentioned, you know, they didn't use Dinwiddie as the roller this time, who probably would have been a better option because Kleba's a good 3-point shooter, and Dinwiddie would have been more comfortable in that situation. So yeah, that was interesting. And yeah, so that worked out well. The one time doubling the pick and roll worked was because they needed the 3. So good final possession. Luka was 8 for 15, only 9 free throw attempts, 9 assists, he and 4 turnovers, 24 points. Like, Let's go OG baby. Like that's he should be proud of that. Nurse's strategy was obviously like we're gonna make other people beat us, and the last game that didn't work. This game it did work. A lot of that has to do with shooting. When these kinds of teams roll in, I mean, we're kind of like this too. It's like if you hit your threes, we're effed. If you don't hit your threes, like we got a chance. Klebo's 1 for 3. Bullock was 0 for 4. Finney Smith took 9 attempts. I don't even really remember that, but he was 3 for 9. Dinwiddie was 3 for 8. Hardaway was 0 for 3. Josh Green was 0 for 3. Only guys that shot well were Wood 2 for 4, Doncic 2 for 4. So, you kind of live and die by sometimes the most simplest strategies, right? Like these 3 pointers. How do we shoot? We were 8 for 26. We were no better. But we had a lot more going to the rim, and Dallas is one of the few teams where we have more playmakers and creators than they do. Like Bullock's not doing anything with off the dribble. Finney Smith's restricted. Powell does nothing. Tim Hardaway's really struggled. It's just basically Dinwiddie, Wood, and Doncic. So, yeah, the strategy paid off tonight. I'm not going to talk about the refs, but I will say that, and I've talked about this a lot, but the NBA has a massive problem when in the final 5 minutes of a very tight, very exciting game, there are 3 separate reviews. Like that just can't happen. Not to mention that the 3 reviews have nothing to do with the blatant misses that they did make and did not rectify. Right. The big one being the throwaway where OG didn't touch the ball and it just went out of bounds. And OG would have gotten the steal. Like he could have just taken it, but he knew better. Like he knew it was going to be their ball, and then we'd have an inbound play off the baseline. Like it was a smart idea. So I really just think generally the NBA has got to figure their shit out with this stuff. Like, yeah, we don't need to review every hit in the head, and they're not solving what that's setting out to do. So I think it's just like kind of a big disappointment, or a big like challenge that they have moving forward that they need to figure out. But whatever, refs are refs. I'm not going to complain. Okay, so I'm going to move right to questions because I've rambled long enough. I got some that I saved. David Griffiths asks, what is the path to a decent half-court offense when playoff teams inevitably slow us down? If I wish I had the answers that I could give Nick Nurse, so maybe I could, write him a letter. I do think so much of what we're seeing that works is operating in that mid-range where a lot of our guys are able to attack. Like, for example, OG is not a great attacker from the perimeter. Pascal, like pretty good, but he really likes to, bring guys into the mid-range down low. I really like when we run sets like Horns, where we get guys at the high post that can kind of, hit the jumper if it's there, attack and ISO because they're really close. They're much closer to the hoop. They're longer. They're more athletic. They can get there. And there's a lot more passing going on, like from that angle, right? You can see a bigger part of the floor. So I've always been a big advocate of having Scotty in that spot, having OG in that spot, Pascal, whatever. This is when the Pascal ISOs and stuff aren't working. I really think this team's just so much better when they're moving the ball and they're getting guys downhill. That's another thing I've talked about before. Like when Scotty is in motion getting the ball and OG is in motion getting the ball, they are devastating, right? And OG's learning how to slow himself down, find balance, make the pass. His assists have been going up. What do we got tonight? He had 2 assists, which is like, I think his over-under is 2.5. So it's, they're starting to bounce up. And Scotty's obviously a great passer. So I would like to just see more offenses designed to either get these guys in the post, high post, where they can kind of operate and then have actions moving off of those, or have them in actions themselves so that they're getting to spots with momentum where the defense is shifting. And it's easier said than done, I know, but Dribble handoffs is a good one. Pick and rolls is a good one too if you're hitting the roller and then you have actions off of those. So that would be kind of my answer. But a lot of when it comes to playoffs and we're slowed down, a lot of it does come down to shooting, because otherwise defenses are just gonna retreat and force us to shoot. So let's see what else. Jesse asks, can we talk about Fred has been using the screen and pop role more effectively this season with non-Pascal players? Yeah, I mean, this kind of is a good segue from David Griffith's question too, is that, Freddie has been pretty effective in the pick and roll. I'd be interested to look up his numbers and see exactly what they're at. But, having a secondary pick and roll kind of option off to Pascal has been great. And yeah, I think he makes a lot of big guys better. Like Birch obviously had a couple of nice little pick and roll actions with Freddie tonight. Coloco's been a favorite of his with the lob. Like, I think having a big with Freddie in the pick and roll is a good option for when we're resting guys and maybe sitting Pascal. So you're right. I have liked to see that a lot. Guru Shisha asks, if Nurse decides to bench Gary, who starts in his place? Well, you guys tell me. I don't know. I think Thad has been great, but I think obviously, yeah, I advocated for Thad starting at the beginning of the year. It doesn't really make sense when you have Scotty in there too. I think it's just going to be team dependent. It's probably Coloco. Because I don't think Coloco, again, it'll depend who we're matching up with, but I don't think Coloco can't really come off the bench by himself, right? Unless you're pairing his minutes with Freddie. But I think, Coloco doesn't need the ball. He'll just set screens. He'll do kind of the Boucher things of like getting hands on balls, mixing it up, kind of hustling. I'm not saying he's like the answer, but I think he might be kind of, that 4-minute, 5-minute starter, and then you kind of start to get in your rotations. That would be who I like off the top of my head, just because I like OG in the shooting guard spot, and then Scotty and Pascal have a little bit more space. I just think we have too many guys who want the ball. And Thad is good at not having the ball and doing his thing, but he's actually better when you do operate around him. Like, even Otto Porter Jr. might be an option. Even Wancho, if he's playing this well, and OPJ's out for a while because of his toe. But I think you want a guy who doesn't need the ball. Like, low touches, low volume, understands, hit their role, and just plays it to the best of their ability until you start rotating guys in. So, yeah, Porter Jr. might be the option. I mean, I've been advocating for Gary to come off the bench all year. And this might be a moment to do it when he's struggling and he's not playing in the fourth quarter. It's like, yo, look, we want to get you back in the flow of things. We're gonna bring you in as the second unit so you can kind of like lead the way. I don't know. Maybe that's a better sell now that he's struggling so much. So yeah, it depends if you want to go big, you want to go small. I get Coloco hasn't been the best defensively. His foul rate is through the roof. But Freddie loves to play with him, and I think he enables our 4 very good defenders to be more aggressive because he's sitting there in the anchor, and he does have good defensive moments. I actually talked about him this week on 5 Things. You can check it out at raptorsrepublic.com. And, he has these plays where he's out on the perimeter double teaming or playing a pick and roll, and then he comes flying in on the weak side to stop a play. So he is capable of it. Yeah, the question is, or the chatter is about what do we do with Gary come trade deadline. I mean, we've seen this before, right? Norman Powell last year, or 2 years ago. 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago. We've seen it before, so I wouldn't be surprised if Gary is in a package for something. He's going to obviously ask for money that gets close to Jordan Poole or Tyler Hero. He's not going to get it. He doesn't deserve it, but he's going to ask for it. And we have too many guys coming down the pipeline to pay. We're gonna have to re-up Freddie, re-up Pascal. Precious is gonna be soon. OG Scotty. So we got a lot of money a lot of mouths to feed, and I don't think Gary's really earned himself. It looked like Gary really was going to be someone we couldn't lose. Oren and I talked about this during the summertime when we were talking about the Kevin Durant and Mitchell trades. Like, if we lose Gary, we don't really have a perimeter defender. Well, it was mostly we were talking about OG and Gary being traded at once. Like, if we lose both, we don't really have anybody who can defend on the perimeter. And then Gary's like the only guy who could create his own shot at the time, or hit a three. And if he's not doing those things, which he's not right now, he's he's a negative. He's a net negative, right? Like, most of these guys, if they're struggling, at least at the defensive end, they're just still super, impactful. Any other questions? Otherwise, this is a nice win for us. We definitely needed it. And who are we playing next week or next game? What are we playing? We're playing Wednesday? No, Monday? Someone help me out. Who are we playing next? Let's see here. We got Cleveland on Monday. So that'll be nice. That'll be a nice game. Cleveland's, we snuck a win with them on our home opener, which I attended, which was very, very fun. And that, thanks to poking Garland's eye out, that helped. That'll be a fun game. And then so the Dallas. So we lost 2 in a row. We lost to Atlanta, Brooklyn. Dallas is a nice win because we got Cleveland, and then we're on the road for New Orleans and Brooklyn. It's 3 tough teams that we're gonna have to run into. We just don't play Brooklyn well, so. Yeah, so I mean, if no one else has any other questions, it's Saturday night. I'm gonna go have a pint. You should all do the same. I'll give you a sec for any more questions. Otherwise, we're getting out of here. No, we're getting out of here. Thanks, everybody. Like us, subscribe to us. Come join us on Monday. Hopefully, there'll be more people here, and you won't have to listen to me rant or ramble for 30 minutes. And appreciate it. Have a good one.